place at the old section of the courthouse, okay, on the steps there. And we had the World War II nurses, okay? So we'll start with that story.
Well, my friend, this certainly seems to be a healthy-looking group of folks.
You're right about that, Alice. These folks don't seem to need our help at all.
That was a far cry from the way things were when we were both overseas during World War II, treating our injured servicemen. Well, maybe they'd like to hear some of our stories. I'll go first. Hello, folks. My name is Alice Amon, and in 1942, I volunteered to use my nurse's training in service to America. I sailed out of Brooklyn on the USS Barry, a ship designed to hold 800 passengers, but there were 4,200 on board. As a part of a large convoy of ships, we made our way down to the Panama Canal and out into the Pacific Ocean.
Well, you are so fortunate to have a vacation on the ocean to the South Pacific.
Very funny, Myrtle. I would hardly call only 2 meals and 1 pint of water a day much of a vacation. There were no showers, and we only had 2 changes of clothing. Both were wool suits. That luxury cruise lasted 37 days before we finally arrived in Melbourne, Australia.
Well, my cruise voyage was a lot shorter, but much colder. Hi, folks. I'm Myrtle Hoffacker, and I graduated from Chatham High School in 1934. I was a Red Cross nurse when the war started, and I volunteered to help out in any way that I could. Well, in 1942, I boarded a ship from Boston all the way to the North Atlantic. Well, we managed to avoid icebergs and German submarines, but there were many on our convoy. They were not as fortunate.
Well, tell us more.
Well, Iceland. Oh, very cold. It was a major hospital for casualties in the North Atlantic. We had 15,000 patients, but only 200 of us nurses to take care of everyone. Well, about a year later, late 1943, I was then sent to Scotland. Actually, we were going to England, but we had to stop in Scotland first. So, on our way to England, as we were boarding the trains, we were serenaded by bagpipes. Oh, that was so much fun. Well, after D-Day, 1944, we worked nonstop as train loads of wounded arrived daily. So, Alice, tell us, did you stay in Australia until the end of the war?
Well, I was there until 1944, working mainly with burn victims and then soldiers and nurses who'd been prisoners of war in the Philippines. They were in terrible condition. My next stop was New Guinea, where we stayed in open barracks in 130-degree heat. Oh, one girl went to pull the cord of an overhead lamp, and the cord was a snake. We shook out our clothes every day before we got dressed.
We both saw our share of suffering, and we were all very glad when the war ended.
Well, I received my first leave in May of 1945 and was sent home briefly to Ohio. And I was in San Francisco, though, waiting to be sent back to New Guinea when Japan surrendered. I received my honorable discharge in the summer of 1945. What about you, Myrtle?
Well, in March of 1945, I left England and went to Paris. And I worked in a civilian hospital there. Oh, the casualties I saw there were the worst. As I was in the trauma unit, it really brought back home the tragedies of war.
But as I recall, you also had an accident while you were in Paris.
Well, that's true. I was there when Germany surrendered. An unbelievable wave of joy swept through Paris. It was an amazing thing to be part of. And a few weeks later, my fiancé, an American who I'd met in Iceland, well, we got married in a Paris courtroom in June of 15. So he had to go back to Germany, unfortunately. And I was discharged in August. But I was home here in Ohio waiting for him when he got home in October.
So we both survived